Right. Are you guys ready for an easy lesson today? So, this is something we've been talking about. We just have not been using the correct vocabulary words. So, we are going to put the right vocab words with the information that we have already been noticing. So, we are going to talk about a cluster. That is anytime you have numbers that are grouped together. We are going to talk about the peak of the data, which is the one that appears the most. You can have more than one peak if they are equal. Any gaps you see are spaces. They're places that have no data. And outliers are numbers that are very extreme and distant from the other values. So let's take a look. So here we have one, and we can see here we have a group, and here we have a group over to there. So we can identify the clusters are between 2 through 4, put a comma to separate them, and then 7 through 12 also has a group in it. So our next one we need to look at is the peak, and we can see our tallest point there is a 2 at the 2. So our peak is a 2. Now we are looking for any gaps or spaces where we can see no information. So here's no data, and here's a big place with no data in there. So our gaps would be 5 through 6, put a comma to separate that gap, and then 13 through 18. And then our outliers are any numbers that are not like the others. So when we have this large gap in here, this is called an outlier. It doesn't really go with the rest of the data. So you just identify each of them and like that. So that can also help us understand some of the information. So right now, with the data as it is, the median is 8. So you'd cross off all of them, and you would find that you have this 8 here right in the middle. The median is 8. If we got rid of this number, the 19, and we recalculated, we would have 8 on this side and 8 data points on this side. So it would be 7.5. So without this data, on the larger end of our scale, it's going to shift everything down. So another example of that is their average is 7. So when they add everything up and divide by 17 data points, they came up with 7. So if we got rid of that 19 is really pulling our balance over here to this 7 right now. So it's trying to balance everything out. So if we get rid of this, it's going to shift our balance point over here. So our average we could maybe expect to be somewhere over here as we balance everything out. So without getting rid of these higher numbers, makes all of our data become smaller. Whereas if we got rid of smaller numbers, it would shift everything larger. So this one tells us our average is 7. If they added a new point here at 4 and here at 10, how would that affect the data? So I know I'm here at 7. I added a point 1, 2, 3 away, and 1, 2, 3 away. Well, they're equally balanced, and so our average would stay the same. So now it is your turn. So go ahead and look for any groups that you can identify for the clusters. Look for the tallest part for the peak. Look for any spaces for the gaps, and look for any numbers that don't really fit in with the rest of the data for your outlier. And just like the rest of these, you can have more than one outlier. You can have one on each end.